I have been on a kick. I know we talked last week about 3D printing, about me starting to 3D print stuff, but I feel like I've fallen down a deep cave of just, oh yeah, and I could, oh yeah, and I could.
No, print trays, sub trays.
I am
trays.
modeling and printing every little thing I can think of. I don't know. It's funny. I'm sure it'll fade, but right now,
what's your printer of choice right now?
I have two that I'm using a lot. I have the Bamboo Labs X1 Carbon, which is
That's the multicolor one?
It does, yeah. It can have
Multiple
like four in it at the same time. It's a really impressive printer. But I also am using the Prusa XL a lot. The one I bought is a single color. So, I use them for different things. But the XL is huge. Like, you can print, it's, I don't know, 400 millimeters cubed. So it's a giant volume where you can just print some huge things. Those trays, which I don't have one down here, the trays that I was talking about, I printed one that was the maximum size of the bed. And it's like 13 inches, by 13 inches, perfect print. So, yeah, those are the two printers that I'm...
How long does that take to do a 13-inch print like that?
Well, it depends. I mean, that tray is, the bottom of it is a 1/16 of an inch thick surface, and then it's a really thin wall up about a half inch. So,
so the building the platform probably takes the longest.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's very slow when it's going across to make that big, lots of back and forth. So, I don't know, it probably took an hour and a half or something to make that.
Oh,
maybe,
that's much less than I thought.
Yeah, it's not bad. Now, the Bamboo Labs printer that I've been using, they intentionally make it pretty fast. I have not pushed it as fast as some people push it, because some people will up the speeds. And it's pretty wild watching it go super fast. It's just like, it's real loud and, back and forth. But anyway, so I'm printing a whole lot of stuff.
I'm still doing the resin printing, and I saw a video the other day of for curing, where you would throw your print in a thing of a glass jar of water, and then use a UV light on top of that, and that water does all the refraction sciencey stuff
kidding.
And gets all the light where it needs to go. So this morning, right before you showed up, I got a 120 watt black light. UV light that just showed up, so I'm going to make my own little curing station.
Awesome.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
We did one of those. We made a mirrored box. It was inside of a cabinet.
I remember that, yeah.
Mirrors all the way around, and then put LEDs, the UV LEDs in there. It worked out pretty well. But I've never heard of the water thing. That's cool.
Yeah, look it up. It seems it helps get the curing light into places where, like inside, so it all cures evenly. And so I think I'm just going to take a bucket and I'm going to line it with foil, and then throw a glass jar full of water in there, and then throw that UV light on top of it. See how that works.
I say don't throw the UV light in the bucket of water.
Yeah. Actually, this one does say waterproof. I don't know how waterproof it is, but
let's find out.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, have you guys been printing anything? Have you used your printers? I know you both have printers.
Well, it's funny.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I just started thinking about printing again because I have it's right here over my shoulder. You can see it. That's the tip of it there. That's my Form Labs. Bob, what do you happen to know what that model is? It's just like that average model from Form Labs.
Form 3? Is that the one you have?
That's it. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And by the way, my video this week, I'm pretty sure is going to be the bell, finally, after all this time. How many years have I been talking about making a bell? And I finally made the bell for a specific reason, which will be revealed in the video. I was requested to make it for a ceremony that takes place this Saturday, so I'll have some final bits for the video to add in, and then the video will be published on Sunday. That led me, in the video, I fail 3 or 4 times casting the bell. Then I get to I take a completely different method, which leads me down a different path for the font and the inscription. And after all is said and done, it led me to a path of doing proper bronze casting, which I haven't done yet, but I bought all the supplies to do it. And I Googled quite a bit, other guys online making it. And some people 3D print in PLA. I wonder if the resin printer can print in a particular material that which I could make a bronze mold, which is really a shell mold. So you could make for instance, something as complicated as a human figure, 3D print it, or make a generation of it in wax, and then make what essentially amounts to like a piece of ceramic around that shape. So as organic as any shape could be, you have about 1/8 of an inch of ceramic around it. And then when you bake it in a kiln to cure it, you're also baking out the wax or the PLA. The print or the wax will bake out of it. And or I think in the case of the PLA, some of it is designed to like evaporate, which probably isn't great for your breathing, but it's all in the kiln, and it leaves behind a shell that which you can pour molten bronze or brass into, and then it needs to be chipped off. And so I'm going down that path.
I'm going to send you a link. There are castable resins, but here's actually I found an article on Foreign Labs website about the using castable wax resin for the Foreign Labs printer. So I'm going to send you that article.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I haven't gotten too deep into it yet, but it's something I've been thinking about. I have a couple of, if you guys remember years ago, the fans might remember, there was somebody put forth the non-lathe pen challenge, make a pen without using a lathe. And I made like a little figurine of a guy, kind of almost looks like Fantasia, like the brooms of Fantasia with arms and legs. That was my inspiration. And I made a little pen out of clay. So I'm going to take one of those original guys that I did years ago so I could use bits and pieces of the original video and make a mold of it in wax. And those are going to be my first examples, my first experiments with this new casting technique. Because it's small enough, it's kind of ties to the old school, but then from there I'm going to go to a 3D print. So that's going to be an upcoming video. So I haven't 3D printed, but not lately, but I'm thinking about it for this particular reason. And by the way, I made 2 versions of the bell. One came out okay, and then the guy who challenged me on this is Mike. And years ago, Jocko did a video called The Millionaire Machinist, and that's our friend Mike Dubno. And Mike challenged me for this particular bell that is for this ceremony. And I made one. I go, I think I did it. He looked at it. He goes, okay, cool. He goes, try and make another one. I was like, oh, God. So in
What's your problem, man? That's what I would say.
He goes, this one's good. He goes, let's see if you can get it better. My light just burned out. And I was like, okay. So in one day, and you'll see this in the video, in 2 days, I made exactly what took me months. So once I had all the tech, once I was able to figure out all the tech and I got it all, I was able to go, okay, the challenge is, let me see if I could do a better version in just these couple days. And so I did that all a week ago, around this time last week. In 2 days, I made a full bell, complete start to finish, with the materials I had left on hand. And I was pretty impressed with myself, because it took me from the very first clip that I started filming for this video was August 1st. So August 1st, by the end of August, I had a fail. By the end of September, I had another fail. By the end of October, we had kind of something. And that's what I made into the first successful bell. And then I made one that ultimately came out much better. And for a lot of reasons, it came out much better. Aside from the fact that I had a developed skill. I always say do it once and then if you do it again. But I was hoping, because it was so complicated, I was hoping Mike would see the first one and be like, beautiful job. I'll overlook all the bubbles and holes and pits because it was so complicated to get to this point. But he's like, now that you got the tech, see if you can do it even better. And obviously I did. It's not perfect. The second one wasn't perfect. But if the first one was like a 5 out of 10 as far as quality goes, the second one was like an 8 out of 10 if quality goes. So it was a really big improvement. Wow. So you'll see all that in the video coming up.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, you always said you were a C student, so.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to get out of it, with just that C grade.
Right.
It's like, nope, we need at least an 85 or above.
David, have you been printing anything lately?
Yes, I got a new 3D printer, the Saturn 3 Ultra. I like the resin printers. And just stuff for the shop, the organization inside the drawers. I still have the Prusa, but I think I'm gonna sell it because it's got a smaller bed and just wasn't big enough for some of the things that I wanted to make. and the Elegoo Saturn 3 Ultra has been fantastic. And I'm trying to. The problem with the resin printing, as anybody knows, is the mess, the cleanup, the not touching, the smells and the fumes and everything. So I'm trying to get and I've been using the I don't know what I'm talking about. The water washable resin.
Oh yeah,
because the IPA alcohol stuff just was. It feels unhealthy. It smells terrible, and I didn't like messing with it. So I've been using the water washable resin. That's been working pretty darn good for me. So I'm trying to get my curing and wash station kind of organized so it's less of a hassle and it's more of a easier process because there's just a lot of stupid post printing stuff you got to do with the resin.
Yeah, I think that's probably the reason that I don't do more resin stuff. I've been through so many 3D printers, and I've settled on these two that I'm working with now. I mean, they're not flawless, but they work pretty much every time. And I know when a design or a piece is going to push it to where I might have a failure. But a lot of the stuff, it's perfect off the printer, both printers. Every time. With very little cleanup, and so it makes it hard for me to justify then doing resin stuff unless I specifically need to, because then you get done and you're like, okay, now I have a bunch of work to do,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know that you guys can see the quality of this print. People who are listening definitely cannot see the quality of this print, but I wanted to point this out because this is straight off of the X1 carbon machine with. I don't know if you can even see how clean these edges are, but there's no layer lines. There's no, you just can't see any of it. And the cool thing about this, so yesterday I was designing, I had these drives, these SSD drives, and they have this plug in the back of them. And so I bought this little plug USB cable on Amazon so I can plug these in. These are go to my camera. But I've been cleaning off my desk and I wanted that cord to not just be laying on my desk. So I was like, I should make a little mount to hold the thing under my desk to make a little port. And then I can stick this in the port and then take it out, like an old zip drive. And so I started designing this thing. And I made a reel about this yesterday. But I started designing this little thing where the cable would go back here, presses in place, fits perfectly, just caliper measurements, fits in there. And then I printed this without any real testing. Can you see these tiny holes right there? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tiny little holes. And this one has tiny little nubs. And this printer I saw that in your
reel, and I was like, how do you design something like that?
The printer is so good with tiny little,
wow,
they just hold together.
Little friction fit.
And that was first try. So the way that I did that was I made this little post, extruded it out, and I modeled these two pieces together. So I extruded these pieces out and then had them subtracted from the thing below to make a hole that matches.
Perfect.
No tolerance, no adjustment.
Yeah,
to that?
After that, I got all the holes, and then I went and added a little bit of tolerance because I also printed a tolerance tester. Mm. And this tells you, if you want it to be this tight, then you use this as the tolerance. If you want it to be this tight, then you use that as the tolerance. So you just have a little pin, which is really, really in there right now. But anyway, you pull that pin out and you put it in the different holes and you feel how tight you want it to be. And then that's the tolerance you use. So I started doing that. Anyway, so first draft, this was cool. It worked really well, except for you plug the drive in there, it plugs into the thing, and then when you pulled it out, it pulled the cord with it. So actually I made another version of it, a different material, and I ended up changing it. You'll like this, Jimmy. So this version, I wanted the cord to be stuck in place, so there's these tiny little barbs that I modeled in right there that actually go in slots in the cord, so once it's down, it can't go forward and backward. That worked perfectly. But then I modeled in dovetails right there, which you can just barely see on the bottom of these pieces. And so you can line all of these up, the top and the bottom for this thing. You put the cable in there. You line these pieces up, and they slot together. And I mean, it could
Very
not be
sexy.
a more perfect fit. And so I took this thing, put some VHB tape on the top of it, stuck it to the bottom of my desk, and I have this perfect little disc insertion point under my desk, totally out of the way. It's always plugged in. And like that right there, it was 30 minutes of work or something. It made my day to be like, I need this very specific thing to work with this very specific cord to go in this specific place.
It's like a SideQuest
Done.
drive.
Oh man, so cool. SideQuest. Well, I haven't heard that in a while. But that stuff it gets me really excited. And I know I talked about it last week too, but the fact that, I feel like I'm finally taking advantage of these tools in like a practical way, not just I need another transformer. Yeah. And it's not just little tchotchkes and things that take up space.
That's always been my problem with 3D printing. I just can't figure out how to incorporate it. But if I end up experimenting more with this bronzing process, is absolutely something. Because then I end up with a net result that for me is a little bit more useful.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna begin to experiment with making art for art's sake and not necessarily making things that are just 3D objects. I have my friend is encouraging me. She's an art dealer, my girlfriend Rachel, and she's been encouraging me to make art for art's sake. She's like, I really want to see what you could do to make art for art's sake and not necessarily have to have a reason for it. She said it's really something. She's known me since before we got together, so she says, you're always making things with a purpose, and in the art world, there's really no purpose. Practically, there's a purpose, but not a practical purpose.
Yeah. Right. Interesting.
So I have this fantasy of making tools that don't do anything. They look like tools, so it's just like sort of it's like a whatchamacallit, but it really doesn't do anything. But it looks like a real good whatchamacallit from the turn of the century. And then in 100 years from now, people will be looking at it going, I'm not sure what this is for, but it's probably for doing that. The people will theorize about it because it's going to be useless from the start.
Screw hammer. Weird.
If there was like this cohesive theme, and I was in a gallery, and this artist just had a bunch of tools that didn't do anything, but they all had this like cohesive look to it, that would just blow my mind. A bunch of tools that didn't have a purpose.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
That would be amazing.
Wow.
A small show of like bronze castings.
Cool.
To start.
I'll look forward to that. That's awesome.
I don't really know. It was probably you, Bob, that got me back into, I need to 3D print some stuff to better organize my life. And it's funny that I keep, as I run into issues, I just go to YouTube and I look it up. 99.9% of all 3D printing videos on the internet are figurines. And I guess that's not for those people. That's awesome. But what do you do with what do you do with all the figurines? I want to learn how to make a little organizational box. But every example is a figurine, and every test is a figurine. It's after you print out like 400 of them. What are you doing with them all?
Yeah,
put them in your door.
You put them in your door. It's just quite an investment to. You'll see these people. They make the cages for it to keep the smell in, and they have a whole system. Like, you spend a lot of time and energy and money to make figurines. Are you doing anything else with the 3D? Like, I guess I just don't understand it, and shame on me for that. But
no, not shame on you. I think that's that's one of those things that, like the end point is derivative of the thing that you find important, or the thing that you like. What's your intent? I think a lot of people would look at, the things that all of us do and be like, why would you waste time building another table? What are you gonna just go buy a table, or what? You know what I mean?
That's true.
It's all about your intent and your kind of where you're coming from and what you want to get out of it. I know for me, in a similar but different way, Lego is a thing that I love. I really zone out and relax when I just build a Lego set. This is different from when I'm being creative, but when I just buy a set, I have instructions, I have pieces, and I just go through it. It's a decompression. I don't really have to think about what I'm doing, whatever. And so I really love that part of it. And then I end up with a thing, and I'm like, well, what do I do with the thing? I can't show off all the things anymore. Like I don't have a place to put all of these things. And so I think part of that whole purchase, build, display process, the build is the part that it's useful to me mentally. And so I think with stuff like you're talking about, with printing, figures or non-usable just display things, I think there's something in that process, it's probably different for everybody, that is the thing that really works for that person. The thing that, they just like to see it come from nothing or whatever. But I think everybody's got their different section of the full path, from beginning to end that does something for them, I think.
Right. And please don't email me saying you're a moron, but I'm sure like the post-processing, the painting and the making things look old and all the sanding and the finishing, I'm sure that's super satisfying for all those people.
Yeah, it's process. It's the same kind of thing, for all the other. But my point in that is that I don't think you should feel bad for not understanding that or be like, shame on me, because you wouldn't get the same thing out of that process as somebody else would. Like they wouldn't get the same thing out of your process that you do. Yeah. And I think that's one of the, being on the internet, that's one of the misunderstood or I don't know, not misunderstood. That's one of the things that people from different places with different ideas and different interests don't do a great job of crossing over and understanding each other with. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I had something else I was going to say about 3D printing, and then I'll shut up about it. What was it? I don't remember. I guess I'm done with that. Anyway,
David, have you been making the castable stuff?
Oh, good. I've never used that. I've had some of it, and then I didn't use it so long that it went bad. So
it says no post process, no post curing necessary, obviously, because it's going to then be melted out. So I think I might buy one and play with it. Thank you for getting me down that path.
So David, are you working at the new house? What have you been up to?
So this week I was going to shoot the When tool reviews video, and in my previous video I said that's going to be the next video, so hang tight. Totally lied. I decided to make a Christmas gift for Kelly. I'm assuming she's not going to listen to this before Christmas. So we had a bathroom renovation a year ago, and so we have a fancy tub. So she wants a little shelf when she's in the tub to put her iPad and stuff. So I made a little shelf, and it's got two little wings on the side. It just sits on the top of the tub, and then it dips down. And then I bought one of those foldable, it's like a magnetic thing that holds your iPad, and it can fold and turn. And I routed out a little pocket for that to sit into, which is going to be epoxied in there. It's got a little place, a little hole, and a place to slide in a wine glass. And then a little place where you could either put a candle or a glass of whiskey. So this is like when Kelly needs to decompress, relax. She loves using the new bathroom. And so this is this thing that I'm building. So that is almost done. I just got to add some finish. That video is not going to come out until after Christmas. So we're almost done with that. And then the bathroom renovation is going faster than anticipated. So Monday and Tuesday I need to work on the vanity that's going to go in there, and so the one video is going to get pushed probably until January. So yeah, I haven't done anything to the new house just because there's so much to do here, but the next thing is going to be the bathroom vanity, and it's a small little 32-inch vanity, so it's not going to be. I'm trying to find the hook for this video because there's not a lot to it. It's basically a cabinet with two doors. So I'm trying to think of maybe I do something fancy with the handles, or maybe this is one of those projects that's just me, doesn't need a hook. We know it's not going to do well type thing.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things I've been thinking about with my videos, maybe you could use this to find the hook, is to when I think about the subject of a video, I often think about it very specifically. So like this 3D printed disc thing that I was talking about. If I were to make a video about that, my first impulse would be like, how to make the perfect enclosure for this drive with this plug. Which, like, nobody cares about that. And nobody has those two specific items and wants to put it under their desk or whatever. Mm-hmm. But if you take that same idea and you just wrap it in a more generalized approach, then the boring can become global, can become more
making your life
accessible
easier
to more people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, you know, the best, I don't even know off the top of my head.
Improving your workflow.
Yeah. You know, cleaning my desk with 3D printing. Or something.
Right.
And so, like, maybe with the cabinet, instead of, you know, this is the most simple cabinet with 2 doors, it's, you know, how to make the most useful cabinet ever with this. Or how only 2 doors can give you the best cabinet. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You'd have to figure out why that was the case. And you'd have to prove that, I think, for it to be worthwhile. But what I'm trying to do is, and the reason that this came up for me personally is that I enjoy all of these things that are old. I enjoy all these things that were from my childhood. But if I make a video now, like I did a while back, that says, this is Optimus Prime's head, 90% of the people who watch my videos are like, who is Optimus Prime? What is that? I don't care. Right? But like making a bobblehead, it's the same thing. I end up doing the same thing, but it puts that like associative thing between me and a viewer in a different place. It's something that we can actually both understand, rather than I'm going to make the Matrix of Leadership from Transformers G1 in 1984. You know, like that doesn't work.
That's exciting.
I did it. It's right there. Actually, that's what made me think of it. I did it a long time ago. But like if I were to make that video again today, I wouldn't call it something like that because it wouldn't be relevant. Whoa. Do you see the video?
Yeah,
Is it doing the thumbs up thing? Oh man. And if you're watching the video, if Mac has this thing. Oh, it's not doing it now. Mac has this reaction thing where if you hold your thumb up to the camera, it puts a little thumbs up icon on the screen. Well, now I'll just look like an idiot. It was doing it, I promise. Anyway, so maybe there's a way that you can take that general idea or that basic idea and just wrap it in something that is more compelling but still accomplishes the same thing.
Yeah. So that is my
repackage.
Yeah. That is my goal over the weekend, is to draw up the cabinet, but also find what that hook is. It's funny. So a few weeks ago, I put out a video. I can't remember if it was the nightstand video or the bar stool video, but it was basically a build video, just an ordinary build video, beginning to end, how I did it. And there were a couple of comments, I would say 3 or 4 comments of like, it's so good to see build videos. So many YouTube woodworkers just review stuff or whatever. I miss the build videos, but then that video is like a 9 of 10 or a 10 of 10, like it, which is in YouTube world, that's a bad video. I'm like, well, nobody watches those videos because it didn't have a hook.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's weird. Like I mean, I know I'm talking about 3D printing a lot. It's just what I'm into right now. But the shop lights that I have in the shop are fading and changing color, and they're getting all weird. So I've started looking for new lights. And so I found these LED, they're strip lights, but they're in these cases with diffusers on them and stuff. And so I was trying to figure out how to put them in the shop on the ceiling, but in a way that wasn't, if the camera just couldn't see them, you know, because like right now I have these big panels, and so you have these hot spots within the camera and within the shop, and I have like lower ceilings, so it's hard to get them out of the camera's view. So I was trying to figure out how to put them up in between the floor joists. And really simple idea of 3D printing these mounts and a simple piece of wood that would have some play in it left and right so that they could fit in any of the spaces. You could move them up and down to get them where you wanted them. And I came up with this simple but kind of cool idea. I'm like, that would be a cool video, except how do you how do you make a video about that? It's hanging lights. It's a problem solving video, but I've already solved the problem in my head, so I just have to execute it. But how do you turn that into an interesting thing? It's the same conversation, just, and then I went down the path of trying to come up with some interesting hook around better shop lighting with 3D printing or something like that. But you can only take that so far before it starts to get like, what? Like, I don't have a 3D printer. Why? I don't care about that. My shop light's fine, or whatever. So that's one example of ideas that I have that I would like to do that I think would be interesting from my perspective, but I don't know how to make them from a title and thumbnail perspective.
Right.
How to make them interesting to other people to actually get them in.
You just like listening to you talk. I just came up with a funny idea, which maybe one day I'll do. It's if you do a regular build video, but create some serious drama tension also interwoven in it. Like, for instance, if I'm going to build a cabinet, but there's also like a police chase happening and somehow it's related. So it's like in the middle of like cutting wood, all of a sudden it cuts to like, somebody at the wheel of a car going 100 miles an hour. And then it cuts back to me finishing the cut of the wood. But you got to watch the whole thing because they're both interlaced.
Oh, you got to see how it turns out. Yeah.
Yeah. And somehow they're related.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to do that.
I got it. There's a great trick you can do. So as YouTubers, sometimes we need to have multiple thumbnails. So if one doesn't work, we have one that we can swap out. And a great trick to that is to have a secondary storyline. So, and you introduce both storylines at the front of the video. So maybe the storyline is I'm building a cabinet, or the secondary storyline is I made handles out of a deer antler or something, right? And so one of the first things that you say in the video is you introduce both storylines, and if the one thumbnail doesn't work, you can swap it out with something totally different, which is still relevant to the video because you introduced that secondary storyline.
Right.
Yeah, still true. That's good.
I have a lot of ideas that I haven't figured out how to like make them interesting yet. And those ideas are written down somewhere. And I always think, I'll be doing something and then that the interesting part will just hit me. It never does. I'm only able to come up with that interesting part when I actually sit down and I start typing up or writing down ideas for that video. Like I have to physically say, you know what, I need to come up with an interesting idea now. In the next 15 minutes, I'm just going to brainstorm with myself. It never just comes to me. I don't know why. Ideas just don't come to me like they used to. I have to force myself. And then I usually find out like after that 15, 20 minute period, I'm good to go. Like I feel really solid. And then sometimes I'll let that just sit a little bit longer, a few more days or a week or so, and see if I can expand on that even more. But the older I get, the more I have to set aside time to brainstorm.
It makes sense. I mean, it's effort. You got to put effort into things. Yeah.
And I think it's just because there's so much stuff happening in my brain all the time. I don't have I don't know, as a kid, you're free. You don't have worries. You don't have obligations. You don't have a calendar. And as an adult, the shower ideas just don't come to me anymore. So my morning walks, I've been forcing myself to not listen to anything. No podcast, no music, just me and my stupid thoughts for 1 mile every morning, and it does help me.
A lot of comedians and a lot of entertainment stuff, of course, I listen to, and they constantly talk about how it's really important to sit down and write. Every morning you got to sit at your computer and write. If it's about new comedy, obviously new stories or new scripts, it's important to sit down and write. That being said, I know there are some comedians that are a little lazy. They just write on stage. They write improv on stage, and you really need to focus and sit and stare at a computer screen. It seems like, if you're a comedian or a writer. Same thing, tinkering in the shop, I believe, is the same thing for a maker. And it's really important to tinker. Tinker is no real end goal, just really jogging your thoughts and playing around with new materials. And experimenting and see what if I do that, what happens there. That's our version of sitting at the computer and writing, is tinkering, I believe, or going for long walks, definitely, and exploring some of the things, reviewing some of the things you've exposed yourself to, whether it be videos or books or in-person experiences like factory lines or whatever, construction sites, these type of things all go to the pool, which will regurgitate as some new interesting idea somehow. So it's important to focus on that, however it works for you. Instead of just waiting, like you said, waiting for the shower moments, you really got to exercise that muscle.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, doing that, I know you go on the walks, so that is kind of a scheduled time. And Jimmy, you've gone for walks and probably done a similar thing in your head.
Yeah, I do the Peloton now, but yeah.
Other than those things, do you all schedule creative time like that?
No, but I keep.
I know,
or do you maybe not schedule, but do you plan it? Yeah. I'm going to sit down for this, on these days for this amount of time.
I don't schedule, but I know in every week there are 3 or 4 days where I don't have to deal with anybody. There's nobody. It's just me until 3 a.m. And those are my days. Sometimes it's 2 days in a week. Sometimes it's 3. Occasionally it's 4. But it's just me in my workshop. And those are the days you see more Instagram stories, more me showing off some of the things I'm playing with. Those are the days that the day will just literally go until I fall asleep on my bed with all my clothes on. Those are the days. And those are the days where I really get the most productivity done. No one's at the house. I've been at the house alone more often than ever before in the last 20 years. And it's just me in the shop, tinkering, playing, exploring ideas, doing that one thing that I've been avoiding because it's complicated. Mm-hmm. But for me, that's where a lot of that's my writing time, for lack of a better term, or my tinker time. So at least 2 days a week for me.
Do you do that, David, other than the walks?
No, and I keep thinking I should. I heard somebody on a podcast recently talk about just scheduling creative time, and I'm like, man, I really need to do that. Every Wednesday at 1 from 1 to 2, I should do that, and then I never do it, and I want to, and I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure I'm going to.
So I just thought of this because you said the way that you said that. I've been thinking about this as well in regard to music. I need to do it for projects too, but I don't make time to play music other than I'll sit down at the piano upstairs with the family for a few minutes every day. But down here, I've got all my music stuff set up. I've got a cello back there somewhere that you can't see because of the boxes that I have been wanting to get back to learning how to play because I started it a long time ago. So I was thinking the other day about if I set aside 15 minutes in the morning, maybe it's first thing, maybe it's right before lunch, 15 minutes to sit down with YouTube and the cello and just get better at it. Just a little bit. Every day, every other day, something like that. I wonder if how much of a difference that would make in a short amount of time. So the way that you said that thing that you just said, rather I should schedule this, but then I'd never do. What about if you schedule it for, or maybe we all do this, we schedule that thing in for a limited amount of time. So for the next 4 weeks or 3 weeks or 2 weeks, it's Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock to 1:30 is X time. It's music time. It's creative time. It's Jimmy getting back to trumpet time, whatever it is.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we, not forever. It's every Wednesday for the rest of my life. But, pick 4 weeks, X amount of time on X day, and then see what happens. See if you're better at the thing. See if you end up with... This is the most productive 30 minutes of my entire week.
Right.
You know what I mean? Something
like that. This is totally a Wheezy Waiter video. If you watch his videos, he's like, I did this thing for 30 days or for 90 days. Yep. And some of these things change his life. Some of them don't. But I know 100% if I did that, it would have an impact. It's just the doing. The doing is the hardest part. Or remembering to put that into my calendar. If I put it in my calendar,
we have the three of us who are really good at bothering each other about things. So we could hold each other accountable for that stuff if you all want to do that.
Do we want to try this so that the way we meet, the way we meet every Wednesday most often, do we want to do that where like wherever we are, we'll just say, we just check in, check in. And then for that hour, we're not talking to each other, but we've checked in with each other to know that whatever we're doing on that 1 hour.
We'd all have to get on the same schedule, which might be difficult.
Yeah.
But.
Well, we could find some time.
I think we could.
Check in.
I think we could.
And then what are we going to be doing? We're going to pick something and try and improve on it.
Yeah, I think just something, whatever. I think it's important that it's something that you feel like you should do more of, but you just have a hard time fitting in. Because
right. I like
if it's like, I'm going to work for another 30 minutes,
yeah.
We work all the time.
Yeah.
That's not it.
All
right.
It's got to be something that
Or
one of those
scroll.
things where you go like, man, I really wish I could put time into whatever, For me, I think it would be music. I need to do it for Project Creative as well. But
I want to do a beat. I want to do a beat once a week. When I say beat, I mean maybe there's a drum loop and a bass line and guitar line, but just I want to come up with like a 30-second loop because I need new music for my videos, and I've been using stock music, and I just got an email this morning saying we're flagging your video, and I had to do a copy dispute. Yeah, because I have the right to the song that I used in the previous video. I did not. It's a song that I did not write. I used some stock music, and I gotta fight this copyright claim, and it just means I need to get back to making my own music for my videos again, which I do 80% of the time.
yeah,
But I get
that's
tired
an
of my own
added
stuff.
pressure, though. I mean, that's a whole nother thing on top of everything else to get a video out. That's pretty wild.
I mean, if I came up with one new beat every single week, one new loop, doesn't mean necessarily that I'm going to use it, but it's just like, okay, if I come up with one a month, if I have 12 new songs every year that I can introduce into the 12 songs that I already have, then I have 24 jams that I could introduce into my videos. And the songs only play for like, little 30-second montages, so I don't need to write a full song. I just need a loop.
Just get a good loop.
Yeah. So mine's going to be making
Send it
beats.
to Jimmy, and he puts trumpet over top of it.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'll lay down some tracks.
Trumpet solo. That'd be so awesome. Oh man. I mean, you should think about that, both of you. You should
like
have
that
one of your
idea. I think it's
songs,
cool.
and then you just cut to Jimmy playing a trumpet solo in the middle of your video, like that. There's your B storyline right there.
If we do this intensive, let's call it the 1 hour intensive. If we do the 1 hour intensive, are we going to document it? For the
I say
Christmas
no,
party?
because I think
Next year?
that the Christmas parties, because I think that takes away from it. I think it would distract.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you
Fair
could
enough.
do the wheezy
Turns into
waiter,
work.
like, I'm gonna, but then it becomes about how do I
we could
film
share
it or
our
whatever.
experience. We could just share our
Yeah.
experience. It doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for me, an hour might even be too much. I think it's just, I think I would get lost and distracted over an hour of trying to do something when I would be thinking about all the other things that I have to do that particular day. Like 15, 30 minutes of focused, dedicated, I can do anything for 15 minutes and it's not going to kill my day. Mm-hmm. Or 30 minutes or whatever, and not feel bad about it. But, yeah, I don't know. It's an idea. Not something we have to do. But I think it is something I'm going to do for me.
I got to
at
dust
least.
off my trumpet.
You should.
Here's a question
I know
for
where it
you.
is.
I watch a lot of music stuff, a lot of how-to music stuff, a lot of like Andrew Wong type videos. I like it's every day I'm watching something about music or something about creating, something about making. I'm watching those videos. And part of that satisfies my creative need, where I actually don't have to do that because I found satisfaction in somebody else doing that. Do you guys find yourself realizing that there's too much information out there and you're watching too much instead of creating?
I do.
I do,
I do find
yeah.
myself What else can I look? I'll be either watching a video that's kind of pointless, passing time, like flicking through TV. Years ago, we used to sit with the remote control. I do that with my phone. And then I often stop myself and say, what can I be doing right now that's more productive? And then I drop the phone and I go do that. I really make a conscious effort to find myself in those moments.
I think I do that specifically with things that I'm not very comfortable with. Watching other people have expertise in something kind of, I don't know, like makes me not feel like I have to learn it or something. I think with the car stuff, a lot of times I'll watch other people fix things on cars in a really broad, like I'm not actually learning anything because they're being so quick and so broad about the restoration or fixing or whatever. But watching somebody else have that expertise kind of gives me a pass on, yeah, I mean, like I don't really have to totally understand what they're doing. I just got to see them fix it, which is not really helpful to me. It's just entertainment. So
I got caught in this rabbit hole. I watched a video on the Jessamite resin, and I was just like, this is so cool. I want to do this. And so I was watching another video, and then Jessamite is hard to find in America, and I found somebody on eBay, so I bought it. Now that I have all of this powdered resin material,
What is it?
It's called Jessamite. Jesmonite.
Jessamite? And what is it used for? I never heard of it.
It's like their thing is like eco-friendly material for artists. It's a powdered resin. So you mix it with I think water. It's like a plaster, but it's safer to work with than a lot of plasters that you can get. It's safer to work with than a lot of resins that you can get. And you can make furniture with this stuff. You can cast it, and so I just went down this rabbit hole. And now that I have it, I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep woodworking. I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I got my satisfaction from watching these other people make the furniture, And so now it's one of those tools that I have that I'll use that in the future, and it's gonna sit on a shelf. But it's in the arsenal. I can figure out how to do that.
How do you feel about that feeling though? Are you good with that?
No.
To have been that. Okay.
No.
No.
So
No.
it even set me down like, okay, this stuff is harder to get in America, and there are other alternatives. And I was finding that the other alternatives are either not as eco-friendly or not as safe, but definitely not as hard and rigid as this particular stuff. So it would chip easily. And so I paid extra from this eBay guy to get this stuff. And now I'm just like, I paid all this money, and this is going to take up, I don't have a lot of space to store stuff. This takes up a lot of space. I don't feel good about this. Now I need to come up with a project where I'm using this so I can feel better about this. And it's just another one of those things that's going to sit in the back of my mind, and it's going to, with all the photographic stuff and all the music stuff, all these things that I don't, all the 3D printing stuff, all the stuff that I don't use, but I have, and it's taking up space, and it's a reminder. It all eats a little part of my mind. And then I just always resort to woodworking because it's easy.
I mean, okay. All right. So should you just release some of that stuff?
I do. I should. It's as easy as I should.
Okay.
When you say release, you mean give it away?
No, not give.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you say give it away?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like we all do the same thing. Jimmy especially, where we buy a thing with the intention to use it, and we buy a whole bunch of them, and then they take up a whole bunch of space. I'm just kidding.
And then you got to buy another building.
And,
No, it's true.
and then you got to buy another building to put all the other things in.
Or build another building.
So, I mean, like, what if you just decided that was a good idea, but I'm never gonna prioritize photography?
I've done
whatever,
that.
or something.
I gave
take
away
a thing and just be like, okay, I can always rebuy it if I get the bug again.
I
or something.
can't.
Yeah, I've done that. I gave away, for instance, a few people asked me recently. I got 2 messages say, "Hey, what happened to the antique Cadillac?" I gave it away. I gave it away to my buddy Mike because Mike is a car guy, and we were fiddling around with it one day, getting ready for the racetrack day. And I was like, you know what? I just don't have the time for this. Like, I'm like, do you want it? He's like, if you don't want it, I'll take it. So I just gave away the Cadillac. It cost me a couple $1,000s. But Mike's a friend, and he'll pay me back in the way he will. But that was such a relief to know that it wasn't just going to sit under a tree and just fill up with water. I gave it to Mike. Mike turned it into a tow truck, and now it's its own mess in its own way. But he got a creative outlet out of it.
A tow truck.
And I do that sometimes with materials when people are around. I'm like, you know what? I'll never use that. I bought it with different intentions at a different moment. You take it and you store it for me. When I need it back, I'll come get it.
What happens is after you have it for so long, you forget that you have it, even if it's out in the open. There's a great example of this. The other day, there was a guy at the house. He was giving me an estimate on something, and he sees 2 bags of countertop concrete in the garage, which the countertop concrete 40 or 50 pound bags you can't just get, you have to order and then go pick it up at Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever. And so 2 years ago I saw it was probably Ben doing some countertop concrete stuff, and I was like, I need 2 bags of this just in case. Those 2 bags have been sitting in my garage for so long that I forgot about them. And then the guy coming to do the estimate is like, oh, are you making countertops? And I was like, wow, funny story. I forgot that I had them. They've been there for 2 years, but I have it just in case. But I can't give them away.
Emergency countertop.
I can't give those 2 bags away.
You can give them away.
That's
the thing.
$40 right there.
Okay, well, you could sell them for $40. But I think that's the thing. Like, I'm talking to myself.
Right.
Okay, I'm not. I think we get into the thing of having the best intentions or having it's potential, right? So we have this potential for a new product or for a new process, this potential for a new tool. And it's unrealized because we get this potential and then we just want to have the potential. But the potential takes money and space and time and brain power to just hold potential. And you can always buy potential again, but you can't buy brain space, and you can't buy, I guess you can buy physical space. But, I'm not going to go buy more physical space to hold potential.
Yeah.
And like being able to release that stuff, you're releasing a lot. So, and I'm saying that to myself. Right. I should probably let go of some of these potentials.
I need a BetterHelp
focus
sponsorship.
More on what is right here. Do
I need a BetterHelp sponsorship? Have you seen these ad reads for BetterHelp? It's like online therapy.
Oh yeah, I've done them, and I'm going to be doing 6 of them over the next 6 months.
Yeah, I need one of those sponsorships to force myself to talk to a therapist to help me get rid of all this stuff that I don't need.
I think it's funny. You just reminded me. I think BetterHelp reached out to me too. I passed it on to my agent. Got to ask him what's going on with it. Yeah. No, I really find a lot of therapy in giving stuff away. I give a lot of stuff away. And it's always like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, oh, you want to take it. And
it's funny because like when you feel like you've got, like this thing is important or it has some potential that you're going to take advantage of, and you feel like if releasing that or letting go of it or selling it or whatever, you're losing out on something. But honestly, like what you just said, Jimmy, when you get rid of it, the moment it's gone, like it's like you never had it. There are very rarely things that I've let go of in my life, physical things. When it's gone, I go, man, I sure wish I still had that. Because there's always another thing. There's always another.
You can always
interest.
get it. You can. I mean, unless it's a sentimental thing, like for instance, when my dad passed almost a month ago, me and my siblings were like, did we find his rings? Because my dad had these 2 rings that he always wore. These 2 gold rings, one had his mother's stone in it from her wedding, and another one was another sentimental thing that he always wore. That was like the only 2 pieces of jewelry he ever cared about. So when we went to the house, like my sister said, she sent to the family chat, I have his rings. Good. And like that was really the only things we cared about of everything. Of course, the house has value and lots of tools have value, but all that's replaceable, theoretically speaking. But these 2 rings were the only like real mementos of my dad's entire life that meant so much to him, because it meant so much to him because it was his mother's diamond. And so outside of a thing like that, I just use that as an example. Mostly anything you give away and pass on, you can get again in the right circumstance.
It's just stuff, as Bob says.
It is.
It is.
And but it's also, I mean, we're talking about the work of putting in to be creative. It is also work to clear out parts of your life. I mean,
I'm going to my dad's house tomorrow to get rid of stuff. I'm going to go tomorrow. I'm starting.
And that's a huge amount. That's a really big amount of work. But like even just looking at this cabinet behind me of things that I enjoy that I've actively curated into a little cabinet that I can look at. Occasionally I'll look at that and go like, I really should just get rid of some of this stuff now. But it takes a lot of effort to post on eBay. But I got to take pictures of the thing. And so I just don't because of that minimal effort. I sit with the weight of I should do the thing rather than trading that for a little bit of effort to actually do the thing. So, I mean, it is work, but I think it's worthwhile.
What is that song by Give It Away, Give It Away,
Right.
Give It Away?
It's Red Hot Chili Peppers. Which, when we were talking about the trumpet earlier, I was thinking about the Red Hot Chili Peppers because Flea plays the trumpet. And I remember back in the 90s, I saw this clip of Nirvana playing live somewhere, and Flea plays the solo to Smells Like Teen Spirit. I'm like, I didn't know Flea played the trumpet. And it's a great clip. It's out there somewhere. Yeah.
I would like to find that.
So maybe not only do I need an accountability partner for the
Accountabili-buddy.
there's your title right there for the creative 15 30-minute thing, but maybe once a week we all get rid of something that we don't need.
That's a good
I'm like, look guys, I got rid of this.
Bob, you never heard the term Accountabili-buddy?
I've never heard that before. I don't even know how to spell it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to write it in the title. Accountabili-buddy.
It's hard to say.
I don't think I made it up. I think I've heard it before. For the it's like having a sponsor.
Yeah,
in AA or
makes
12
sense.
step, you have a sponsor.
Crazy. So we had a topic today that we didn't get to for the second week in a row.
That's okay. It's more natural when we don't have a topic.
Yeah, it's true.
What is the topic? How we're going to be when we're older? Do we remember? What was the
I
phrase?
think that was it. You know what's funny? We could just say that at the end of every episode from now on.
Yeah.
And it will be the running gag. And then when we're actually in our like 70s or 80s or something, still doing the show, of course, then we can actually have that episode.
When we're actually out of topics for our final show.
Yeah. Oh, man, that would be pretty funny. Well, do you guys have anything else? I mean, we've been yammering for an hour about basically nothing.
No, this is always a good therapy session. And so now I have, what do I have, Jimmy? Accountability-buddy?
You have 2 Accountabili-buddies.
Accountability-buddies. Man. Buddies. I got to make it plural there. Buddies. Accountability-buddies.
I just got it's available. Accountabili-buddies.net is available.
.co.uk. Cool.
You know
what? I'm
here's
going to think our Patreon.
Here's some mental space that I got rid of years ago. I used to collect domain names. I used to think, before I did this whole YouTube thing, I used to think one of these names is going to hit. And one of them, I did sell one, not for thousands, but for hundreds. And then one, I bought somebody's name, a comedian, and we actually became, he's like, hey, bro, this is Theo Vaughn. He was on Last Comic Standing in the early 2000s, and he didn't win, but I thought he was hilarious, and I was one of those buttholes that would buy people's names, and I bought his name. Years later, he said, hey bro, he actually called me bro, hey bro, you own my name.com. I was wondering if I could buy it from you. And I was like, well, I'm a web developer, do you need a website? And so I developed his website, and I think I did 2 or 3 versions of his website. And then one day, maybe 5-6 years ago, he's like, hey, can I buy that name from you? And I was like, dude, no, you just have it. I just gave it to him. And then I've let a lot of those names expire. I had wellactually.com and a bunch of others. I just let them all go. It's like, I don't need these anymore. That's a past life. And it felt good to let them go. Now I just own domain names that I actually need or use.
That's cool.
I own quite a few that I still don't need, but I don't know. I'll do something with them, maybe.
But I do have one
Don't
famous.
try and
I
get
can text a
Accountabili-buddy.
famous person on my. I have his number in my phone. I could text Theo right now. Bro. Yeah. But
Bro. Cool. Well, let me thank our Patreon supporters. And then in the after show, Jimmy, I'm going to show you a new camera that you're going to buy.
oh boy.
I
Big
just
thanks
got a
to
cool
everybody.
camera, but I'll tell you after.
It's not this, is it?
It's not that.
Nope.
It's
Nope.
about that cool, though.
Okay.
Anyway, big thanks to everybody at Patreon. I was looking through the list this morning of people that help us out over there, and very grateful for all the support that we've had, forever. This past year, it's been a great group of people that have stayed around for a really long time. So very thankful for everybody at all different levels. They all get the after show, which is now in audio and video. And those links are on Patreon, so you have to be, a Patreon supporter to be able to get the links and the feeds for that after show stuff. But it's all there for everybody, no matter how much you support at. We're just grateful. But the top group of supporters, they go above and beyond, and they're fantastic. So big thanks to Crabtree Creative, Web Wrench Specialties, Michael Manedjan, Warren Works, The New Janky Workshop, Scott at Dad It Yourself DIY, Sean Beckner, Odin Leather Goods, Rich at Lowen Designs, Chad's Custom Creations, Chad from Mancrafting, Works by Solo, Albers Woodworks, Corey Ward, and Nick Ryan.
Well done.
So big thanks to them. I'm going to start making you guys
Thank
do
you,
that
guys.
in the new year.
I know most of those guys too, personally.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. So, guys, thank you. I also want to say I got so many nice notes from our patrons about. I don't want to cry about my dad. So, thank you. Say that fast. Get that out of my system fast before I get stuck on it. So, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, we are very grateful. They're very kind. And we get a lot of messages from them about all sorts of stuff. Lots of feedback around. They're sending links to us all the time about things that we talk about and helpful things.
Absolutely.
So big thanks to them. And if you want to join that group, if you want to help out the show, if you want to get the after show, you can go to patreon.com/makingit and join up over there at any level. So, do you guys have something to recommend this week? Jimmy froze. Oh, there he is.
Oh, no, you know what? I hear banging, and I'm like, I was yelling at Ryan, who's in the bedroom upstairs. You hear the banging?
Yeah.
I hired roofers to redo my porch, and they finally started. They told me they were going to start at some point this week. They never gave me a date. So I hear banging and nail pulling. I'm like, what's going on? These guys live in the neighborhood, so I said, come whenever. So they started doing the roof on my front porch. I was going to recommend, do we all agree this, do we have the link to this video where this gentleman does a collaboration video for all of us? So we're all going to recommend that. This kid, I wish I could remember his name. Does anybody know his name off the top of your head? He's a small channel.
I can look.
Still works.
Yeah, he still works. He did a video where he collaborated. He made all of us collaborate together, all like his favorite YouTubers, which is at least 13, 14 different people, which is really funny. Yeah, really funny. There's a few people in there that I don't even know. So it was really cool. And he mimicked each one of us in our own way, in a loving way. So that was really cool. And then also check out Jason at Fireball Tools, who is an incredible content creator, and not to mention an incredible welder, product designer, machinist. The kid is like Superman. He's probably a couple years younger than me. But Jason at Fireball Tools does a video recently about making a simple part, and he hires 3 different, anonymously, he doesn't out them because it's could be embarrassing. He hires 3 welders to make parts, and says this is a very specific part. It needs to be right. It needs to have this tolerance. And almost all 3 of them fail. And he explains the reasons why they fail at making what seems like a very simple part. Even the thumbnail. I remember seeing the thumbnail going, I don't understand why that would be complicated. But then I took the time and clicked on it, and it's an unbelievably informative video. It's his most recent video where he makes these things that look like little metal tables. And he hires 3 welders to make with the legs on it. He hires 3 welders to make 2 each, and they have to be exactly the same. And the legs have to match up. The 4 legs have to sit on top of one another, and none of them do. None of them. And he goes into the reasons, like he gives them an allowable tolerance, and he's so good at whack-a-mole in the trolls and all the things they could potentially say and do. He goes the extra mile. He uses this computer software, hardware device, which maps each one of them in space. It's crazy. Huh. So he takes the part that he got from them and maps them in space it'll make a 3D model of them after he maps them in space. And then you could see where everything's off. So I started watching it this morning, so I didn't see the last few minutes of it. So I'm curious to see where it goes. Anyway, you guys could watch that for yourself.
All right, mine is,
David,
I just sent you the link and a couple of the examples of this. Is this, he takes graffiti and turns it into a message. So it's just a short little video. The video is called Office Man versus Graffiti. And so he found, for one example, he found a wall where there's a bunch of tags on there. And so he took a stencil above all these tags. He thinks they look like signatures, and signatures belong on a document, and this wall is not a document. So he took a stencil and it says, sign below if you think the world needs more love. And then there's another one where he took somebody's tag and then made it look like it's on a sign where it says, sorry, Mom, I'm done with vandalism. And then that person's signature or their tag. And there's just a bunch of examples like
really
that. It's super creative. And obviously it's more graffiti on top of graffiti, but it's super entertaining.
Huh. Interesting.
And then he took there's another example where somebody's tag and he made it look like a check, and that person's signature is on this check, and the memo in the check is graffiti removal.
$5,000.
It's so clever. It's so good.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, I was going to talk about the collaboration video from, Still Works?
Still Works.
The right name? Yeah, okay. It's called Can We All Collaborate? And it was very funny to see. I mean, it's funnier to see him make fun of other people than me, but it's also pretty funny to see him make fun of me. He was imitating. He's not making fun. He's imitating. But man, Jonathan Katz-Moses, that one was that guy. It was very funny. So,
I like how he just throws on the bald wig to go on the other side of the camera and then pulls it off quick for a couple of you guys.
Somebody commented, I don't know if it was on that video or if it was in my Discord, but she's like, that bald cap is getting overtime today. And so many bald woodworkers.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I guess that's it, unless you guys got anything else.
Well, I sent you guys. We could talk about it in the after. I got the Insta360 Ace Pro, and that's the little.
Oh, that's the camera I was going to tell you about.
Oh, that's what I sent you.
Okay,
that's what I sent you. The little thing I got a couple days ago. It's been fun. I like it. We'll talk about it in the after.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Well, thanks. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you.
It's a long night.
We'll see you next time.
Love you.